I would like to know about your working process. I guess I've read, like you said at the very beginning, you saw the beginning, you saw the process, you saw the end, and at one point it will be an ongoing process. How do you see your work as finished work and finished? I guess you have read that some things look unfinished, not the ones we have here, but other works you've made.
I mean, yeah, I mean, they...
Even if they are really elaborate, like they are completely, yeah.
No, I mean, I started to realize a while ago that, you know, like you start with an idea and you think it's gonna end up like this, but then halfway through or whenever, you know, you begin to see that you don't want to go all the way there. What is happening is something far more unique and far more interesting. So that's when I started to realize that you don't have to kind of complete your initial idea. Mm-hmm. You can stop where you want to and be able to, you know, that's why in my work you will see a lot of exposed armature. So you can see through the sculpture, because that's the idea. It's almost like you're looking through something. Mm-hmm. So it becomes architectural, and it also becomes kind of like the inside of a body, you know. So it becomes more complex in that way, because then there's I mean, to me, there's the element of landscape is part of the work. So even though I'm very interested in making like these large heads, I don't, like earlier somebody asked, so whether they are portraits or they are, yes, I mean, they could be self-portraits. I mean, you know, that's what artists do. You know, you basically you are, I mean, you can look at a lot of people that, I mean, especially with figurative work, the face of the person comes through somehow, or the way that they draw, and they usually, you know, your own face the best. So I think that element is there, but I let the material tell me at a certain point what's going on, you know. I mean, I'm not somebody that plans from beginning to end what is going to happen, because there are things that can change. Mm-hmm. And I think for my work, it definitely helps it to become more interesting. Mm-hmm. Because I don't believe that, you know, you can, you know, exactly what you're, I mean, for me, you know, for other people it's different, you know, but and like it is in other aspects of life too. It's like better to leave a little door open. Yes.
You have all these freedom of materials, no? Things that you could pick up any material.
Yeah, or
for
also
drawings or sculptures.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, I try to introduce new things, you know. So, and right now I have a certain kind of material that I'm more attracted to. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that, you know, it is, it's lightweight. I mean, there's a lot of practical choices, you know. It's lightweight material, it's cheap, and a lot of times you can find it, you know. So I don't like to do fabrication. I'm not into that. So, I mean, of course, I have to admit that certain things have to be fabricated because I can't make them myself. Most of the work is made by me, but certain things, I'm not a carpenter, so they would end up looking really bad. So they have to be made by somebody else, you know. So that's what I do.
Could I ask you whether the characters, or as you develop them, you're aware of some of them or all of them having a gender? It wasn't something I thought of when we were preparing, but going into the exhibition, it felt as if there were elements of like references possibly to a gender, to some of the masks.
I preferred them to be hermaphrodites.
Okay.
But, you know, or genderless, you know. Mm-hmm. But
and that's deliberately, consciously hermaphrodite.
Yeah, I mean, even in some other work of mine, you'll see that there are, you know, of course, sometimes they have both, you know, and it's like, why not, you know, rather than, but, you know, it all...
That's like reflecting your belief in sort of freedom, the freedom of the materials, but the freedom of the character to be
Yeah.
Any
It's not like, because I mean, as soon as you put a specific gender on something, then it comes with all the associations that are preset with that gender, which I don't think are necessarily true. So it's better to kind of be genderless, you know. And also my work is not about gender, and it's not about identity. It's I mean, obviously, you know, one's identity, one's history, you know, where one is from, you know, things, they will always appear in the work, but it's not a forced kind of thing that I am, you know, from here, or I am a certain color, or I am a certain sex. That doesn't interest me, because I feel like, you know, at least as an artist, it's like you don't need to have those things. I mean, you, obviously, if your work is about that, that's different. But being an artist, it actually allows you the freedom to be from nowhere, you know. You don't have to belong to a certain place. But you can talk about a lot of different things. But it's not necessarily that, you know, you have to say that, you know. I mean, being an artist, you do have the freedom to not belong to anywhere and just be from nowhere. So that's how I prefer it. But I mean, things will seep into the work, which will be very specific to one's own identity, like more a personal identity rather than a group, you know. I try to stay away from, I don't like groups. I don't like, you know, sort of group mentality and that kind of stuff. Nationalism. These are all very negative things to me.
When you were making this series of masks, I suppose there are more of them as well that you kind of think of grouping them together?
No, there are no others.
Did you, with any of them, set out to do something, because they I assume that the humor in them is of how kind of over-the-top evil they're trying to look like. How can I make this as evil as possible, and what is kind of?
I mean, I don't really see them as evil. I think they're quite benign, and they're nice guys, you know.
But did you set out with
but
any of them?
They are mutations, or they are like different, or maybe it's you know, maybe it is about being, maybe it is about the other, you know, that they are different and they are not what we are used to, or you know. But yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, I was into the idea of trying to make them look sort of as interesting as possible, and you know, as sort of biomechanical as I could, even though it's pretty homemade.
But with any of them, did you set out to do them different from what we see as a human face, but still pleasant to the eye? Because all of those, they're pleasant in a certain way, but also very kind of aggressive and in your face. Did you set out with any of them to make them look pleasant but different? And is that possible if with them?
I think with most of those, I started out with like you know, I'm into werewolves, so that was one of them, and you know, apes, and so I guess maybe it's also an interest in sort of animalistic forms, and which again goes back to traditional art forms, where you know, you take from animals and then you kind of recreate. And I mean, even with Egyptian sculpture, it's really interesting how they have the crocodile god and the baboon and all the animals that are helpful to them, you know, but they have respect. So it's almost like they are also like gods, you know, but they are whoever they are. But yeah, that's, you know, that is part of the ongoing kind of, it's like a respect for like, you know, other forms of life. Because if you look at, like, even with Mayan art and Aztec, there are a lot of forms that are coming from animals, you know, in their drawings, and the serpent, or So that's a lot of, all those things are very influential to me. So I guess, you know, when you're doing it, you're trying, that is in your subconscious to kind of sort of try to do something like that. You know.
I was just wondering if when you're creating them, do you intend for them to have expressions at all? Because some of them look like, just looking at them, I can sort of, I get an expression from, especially the one that's sort of turning this way, looking upset. And
Which one is that?
it's the flesh-colored one with the ears, the red. Red
yes,
ears,
I
and
know
he's
what
sort
you
of
mean.
looking
Yes.
towards the corner, and I almost have a story in my head of what he's thinking. And do you intend for that to happen, or would you rather your audience feels that and creates their own?
Well, I mean, I guess, you know, in the process of making them, you know, some of them do look a certain, I mean, you know, they're either looking a certain way or the other, but I think sometimes it's more intentional. And then, of course, the fact that you actually notice that, I mean, that's good, because that means that, you know, it worked. So what I was trying to do, like, you know, it wasn't a futile effort. So I mean, like that one is sort of looking down, but it's also, I guess, trying to make them not so, trying to make them look a little different from each other. So I think, you know, basically, like when you walk into this, you know, the gallery where you see the African masks, and I mean, the amount of complexity in each piece is intense, you know. So I think I would, you know, I'm trying to like, I'm influenced by that same, by looking at stuff like that, you know, that it looks kind of simple, but it's not, you know. So if it happens, that's good.
And when you make them, do you think about the way people are going to see them? Because it's important for you that your sculptures can be seen from every angle. And for instance, we can see masks with eyes that from a certain point you can see the relief of the eye. Do you think about that when you make them, like it can be seen from...
Yes.
Yeah. Would you have put them in another way? If,
maybe some of them could be slightly higher, you know. I mean, yeah, the eyes are holographic, so it depends. If the light is not shining on them, they will not look as green or whatever, you know. But it's nice to just have that be very subtle. So sometimes it's not like, you know, in your face, but yeah, those things, yeah, you know, because I mean, I don't mind that kind of sort of the fact that they are aggressive that way, you know. They're definitely, you have to look at them and they're looking at you, you know. Because, and in that aspect, they're not really like masks, because they are actually just like heads, because they do have eyes, you know. Because usually masks don't, I mean, I just thought about that, it's true. I mean, they're called masks, but they're actually, it's almost like they're trophies, you know.